Welcome to the High School Preview Show presented by Gold Athletics. I'm your host, John Sarianides. And as always, I'm joined by my partners, Tyler Amaral and Mukala Kabongo. Gents, how you doing this evening?
Good. How are you? How are you?
Doing okay. Doing okay. Can't complain. People have stopped listening now for years. So,
Yeah, I'd say I'm doing better than Bill Belichick right now.
oh boy.
And
Poor
no, no,
Belichick.
no, really though. We're, Last week we crossed the halfway point of the Massachusetts high school football season, so it's just wild. It flies by every year. We say the same thing, but it
Right.
really does. The weeks just go by so quickly.
Yeah, they do. And it's hard to believe that we're already in week 6, which is, as you said, past the halfway point of the season. And really, if you think about it, after this week, you only got, 3 weeks of games left, and then you're into the playoffs. So it's hard to believe the regular season wraps up on Halloween night or that weekend. So it is hard to believe that we're almost there. You know what I mean? It doesn't it goes by quick. You think, oh man, we've got this 8-9 week sprint, but it does go by quick. Before we get started here, I do want to remind you that we are brought to you by Gold Athletics. Visit goldathletics.com today for all your fundraising needs. Matt Ross and his team do a terrific job of catering a fundraiser towards you, your program, and your community. If you're looking to make some money and make some money fast, then you need to visit goldathletics.com. As I mentioned, Matt Ross and his team do a great job of catering a fundraiser or their fundraisers to the various communities and programs. Winter coaches, spring coaches, your seasons will be here before you know it. If you need some money now, then you need to fundraise, and you need to go to goldathletics.com. Go to goldathletics.com today for more information on how you can fundraise and make that money. All right, gentlemen. We've had the last couple of weeks, we've had some really good slates in the region, not just in Massachusetts. We've got some good games this weekend, but I think a lot of the rivalry games are out of the way now. A lot of the bigger games coming down the stretch here now. It's more about league and conference play. As we usually do, we're going to start in Massachusetts, and we're going to start with a familiar school. We talk about them every week, a program that has been on the rise in Division One, and that, of course, is Central Catholic, who travels to Methuen this weekend in a big MVC clash. Mukala, I'm going to start with you. People will say Methuen has been a pleasant surprise, but I don't think that's fair because despite the fact that they've graduated the Easton brothers the last couple of years, Tom Ryan, former head coach, is now the AD. This is still a really good program with a lot of talent, a program that clearly is going to be a factor in the MVC.
Yeah, and the numbers too. The numbers that they get each year, it just seems like they keep increasing with the number of kids that they get to participate in their football program. They've done a good job with that. Winning with their third, I think they're down to their third string quarterback, and they found a way to go into Andover, a tough place to play against a team that was really rolling, and get the win on the road. I mean, that I'm sure that did a lot for their confidence, and there's playmakers everywhere on that team. I mean, give a Alex Santiago. He's made some big plays, offensively and defensively. He on both sides of the ball. These first couple weeks of the season for them, and they got other guys too. Tim Dorazan, he's also been key on the outside. So this Methuen team is very, 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 very tough, very explosive. Got a lot of different ways to score the ball with their offense. And then they're going up against a Central Catholic team who last week we said they needed a signature win. I mean, Coach Sexton at his tenure needed a signature win, and they were able to get that signature win thanks to Caden Smith, on the ground and in the air. He
It
had
doesn't get much more signature than that.
Yeah, definitely. 28-27. And what we've been saying about Central Catholic these last years, like they've been in all these games, but they just haven't found a way to pull it out. They found a way to pull this one out. That team has a lot of confidence going into this one. So I'm gonna go with Central Catholic. I think their confidence just went through the roof after last week. Even though this won't be an easy game for them, though, Methuen is going to give them a hard time. I think we're going to have another classic game that comes down to probably the last minute or so of the game.
But it was a tough team to read. They started off with a win against Marshfield. They beat North Andover. Then they lost by 3 scores to Tewksbury. And so I honestly didn't think they would win that game last week, but it's a testament to that program and what they've built there in Methuen. They're definitely on track to be a Division I playoff team again. I think they'll be able to hang with Central Catholic for a little bit. I just think Central Catholic, they're so battle tested. We've talked about it, ad nauseum on this show about how they played the most difficult non-league schedule in New England this year. They really beefed up that schedule. They have a lot of kids back that have played 2-3 years on varsity, and I've kind of limited it to the non-league slate, but they've also got Methuen and Andover here in the league play as well. So it's an incredibly challenging schedule. They're going to be one of the top 4 teams most likely in the Division I playoffs, just based on the strength of the schedule. I think they're really going to hit their stride here after that Xaverian win. I do. I think they're going to hit their stride, kind of cruise into the playoffs here, probably at 6-2, and they get that, continue the momentum with a win over Methuen, though I don't think Methuen will go easily in this one.
Yeah, I think it should be a really good game. And Methuen has been a great story. You guys mentioned they're down to their 3rd quarterback, which is crazy. I don't think people realize how hard it is to win a football game when you're down to your 3rd quarterback. Your 3rd quarterback, realistically speaking, is probably your starting JV quarterback. Heck, he might even be your starting freshman quarterback if you're still separating the programs and not doing Froshmore. So, I mean, again, I think it speaks to Coach Duggins and the job he's done there with that program and getting it to a place where they're game planning well enough that they can overcome not having their starting quarterback. It's really impressive. But I agree with you guys. I think Central Catholic will be tough to beat in this one. I think that they probably will edge out Methuen in a good one. We're going to stay in the MVC. Next up, we have Billerica at Tewksbury. Tewksbury, of course, has sophomore quarterback Will Harrison. Can't say enough about this program. Coach Aylward always gets a lot out of his guys. Should be another good game between 2 MVC programs with a lot of history and tradition. They also have a lot of history and tradition of playing each other. Tyler, how do you see this one shaking out in what is another big MVC game this weekend?
Yeah, Billerica is a very good program too, and they're another team in the MVC here that's undergoing a coaching change. They're a team that has moved up in the new alignment. We talk a lot about teams going from D2 to D3. They actually did the opposite. They went from D3 to D2. Early on, they lost to Masco by 16 points. Since then, the defense has really been playing well, and they're looking like a team that could make some noise in Division II. They played well recently. Junior running back Jackson Guerin is a terrific athlete and a home run threat for that Indian offense. So I like the way Billerica is playing right now, but I'm not going to go against Tewksbury at this point. They've given me no reason to. We just talked about how they beat Methuen by 3 scores. They're dominating right now. They're playing very good football, both offensively and defensively. You brought up Will Harrison. They also have Emeka Olu in the backfield. This Redmond team's very good. I think with Duxbury and Scituate not being quite where they've been in years past, Tewksbury is probably the best team in Division IV. I like the Redmond here by a score.
Yeah, it's hard to go against Tewksbury in this one. I mean, last week against Chelmsford, Ben Christopher, he takes the opening kickoff to the house. I think it was like 94 yards to the house. It pretty much set the tone for that game. And I picked against them once, and they won by like 3 or 4 scores. So they just have a good all-around team. Will Harrison, the quarterback, he's playing really well this season for Tewksbury. So I think we might get one of those. Might be close for a little bit, and then just Tewksbury pulls away. And probably like starting in the second half, they start to pull away. And they're at home too. That's a tough environment to play at Tewksbury. So I think Tewksbury is going to pull out the win in this one and stay undefeated.
Tyler, you bring up a great point about Division IV, and you're right. I mean, you saw Duxbury lose to Londonderry last Saturday. Scituate loses to Plymouth South. They've been the standard in Division IV the last couple of years, but now all of a sudden, when you look at the lay of the land in Division IV, this Tewksbury team could very well be the best team in the division, and it'll certainly be amongst the favorites. But again, they're tough to play against, especially at home. You got that grass field, Coach Aylward. He's going to throw a lot of formations at you, a lot of movement, motion, tough to defend. I could see this being a close game, but I agree with you. I think Tewksbury should be the favorite in this one, especially at home. Next up, we go to the Hockomock League, where we have Canton visiting North Attleboro in a really good Davenport matchup. Tyler, what are your thoughts on this one? Canton has been a program that has been on the up and up the last few years. They've had a revival of sorts under Anthony Fallon. This is a program that in the last 2 years, you go back a few years ago, they had a nice little window there of a couple of years where they were able to make a run. The last 2 years, though, they've been really good. They could have gone to a Super Bowl last year in Division 4. They're in Division 4 as well. This should be a pretty good game. Of course, last year, Canton beat North Attleboro. Is this do we have a repeat here? Can Canton make it 2 years in a row?
I think it's going to be tough, and this is going to be one of those classic Hockomock games. It's probably going to be low scoring. It's going to be very physical. I think this Canton team is...
And by the way, not to cut you off, the game's at Canton. It's not at North Attleboro. I was just wrapping up my hockey draft, so I'm trying to balance hosting the show and taking Shane Gothisbehere as my last defenseman. Go ahead.
Canton won at North last year, which was just like a signature win for the program. I think Canton kind of caught people by surprise last year. That's not the case this year. This team's good. People know how good they are. JT Norton returning at quarterback, Nick Crow at running back. They've got some good size. They've got some nice players in the front seven as well. They survived some injuries early in the season. They're still undefeated. I think they're probably in my eyes, they're probably the second best team in Division 4 right now after Tewksbury. They're right in that Duxbury sort of bucket right now. I lean North Attleboro here. I think North Attleboro is just going to be a little more physical. I think they have a little bit more talent. Talk about guys like Frankie Strachan. Nathaniel Robbins really emerged as a nice piece in that backfield as well. So I like North here, but it's going to be a real toss-up. Something like 17-14 is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, this is usually when the time of the year North Attleboro really starts hitting their stride, starts playing the way we know them to play into a run for the position for the postseason. But going into Canton is definitely going to be tough. I know they probably want to get a little payback from last year, but I think for Canton this game might be they have their full attention. So I think Canton being at home, they might have a little advantage. So I think Canton will pull this one out by like a score of like 21-28, something like around there.
Yeah, we're going to find out a lot about this North Attleboro football team in the coming weeks. You have Canton this week. You still have Mansfield and Foxborough. So we're going to find out just how good this North Attleboro football team really is. They acquitted themselves well earlier this year in a tight game against King Philip, losing 21-7. It's hard to pick against them in games like this, but the one thing I will say about this Canton program, it really hasn't mattered. Playing in the Davenport the last couple of years hasn't really mattered to them. This program is back. Fallon and his staff have done a really nice job of rebuilding this program and getting it back to a place where they can be competitive year in and year out. You're all of a sudden not losing a lot of kids that you normally would lose to the private and Catholic schools. You're keeping them in town, and that's huge. And you're not going to keep them all, but if you keep a bunch of them, it's going to pay dividends, and you're seeing it with this Canton program now where some guys have decided to stay home and play for Fallon and this staff, and the proof is in the pudding in the last 2 years. This has been a very good program, and again, Tyler, to your point, and you mentioned this with Tewksbury, this is a Canton team to keep an eye on come playoff time in Division 4. Division 4 is wide open. This team is certainly good enough. They should be pretty good next year as well. They're good enough that they can make a run and surprise some people. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Next up, we have an Eastern Mass, Central Mass matchup. Milton coming off a tough 28-21 loss to Weymouth. They hit the road to take on Wachusett, who came from behind to stun Leominster last week. Mountaineers, one of the teams in Division 1 that's flying under the radar. I know everybody's looking for the next Needham. Who's going to be the next Needham? Who can be a public school that could potentially play with the Catholic schools at the top, or Springfield Central in D1? Wachusett certainly fits that bill. I know last week we mentioned Natick as a possibility, but for Milton, this is a stiff test. I mean, this is a part of their schedule that they needed to figure out a way to win these two games. Weymouth, now Wachusett. They're going to need to keep up with King Philip and Barnstable in Division 3. In order for them to do that, they're going to need to win this game. Mukala, I'm going to start with you. How do you see this one shaking out here? I mean, I think if you're Milton, that loss last week in a lot of ways was worst case scenario.
Yeah, and then you got to travel to Wachusett, who, with the comeback win over Leominster in what was a classic game, 45-43, I think this is going to be a tough task for Milton. You know, they might have a hangover from last week's loss 7-point loss to Weymouth, and Wachusett right now is playing some really great football. They're on a roll right now. I mean, defensively last week, I mean, not much you can do with the high power offense like Leominster possesses. But Milton has, they got some explosive players and explosive playmaking as well. But I just think Wachusett, I just think that win against Leominster did a lot for that program and for that team. I think I believe they're going to roll in this one too. They're going to come out with another victory.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to talk about Weymouth this week. They played Brockton, but what Mike Donovan's done there in a short amount of time has been very impressive. This team hadn't beat Milton in like 13 years or something like that, and they beat them in consecutive seasons. So that's a very impressive program. And Milton, I mean, Weymouth is another one of those teams that could be a public school that makes it to the quarterfinals and potentially the semifinals in Division One, especially with that single wing offense. So this is going to be a much different look for Milton. I think they're going to match up better against Wachusett and that spread offense than they did against the single wing of Weymouth. Milton, we know they're going to score points. Excellent quarterback battle in this game. I like Milton, though. I think Steve Dembowski gets his guys ready. They're able to go on the road here, win a high-scoring game, 35-28, something like that. But I like Milton to bounce back.
I think the key for Milton is they're going to need to prove, especially now that Division III is stacked. I mean, you've got Barnstable, you got King Philip, you got Marshfield, you got North, you got Milford. For this Milton team, they're going to need to prove that physically they can match up with some of these teams. Mansfield's in that same boat as well. You look at Mansfield, you look at Barnstable, you look at North Attleboro. These are teams that can line up and run the football well. And I think for Milton, they're going to need to prove that they can match up physically. If they can't, I think it's going to be an early exit for them in the playoffs. So in many ways, games like this are a pretty good litmus test for them in regards to whether or not they could physically hold up against some bigger teams that can line up and run the football and run it at them. I think that's going to be a big part of it. All right, we're going to go back north of the city again. This time we have Masconomet at Danvers. Mukala, I'm going to start with you. Pretty good matchup here. How do you see this one playing out between two programs that coming into the season had some expectations? They've hit a couple bumps in the road, but these are still two teams to keep an eye on north of the city.
Yeah, definitely. Danvers is making a lot of noise. They went for 2 against Beverly last Friday. They tried to go for the win, didn't convert it. They lose a 1-point game, 28-27. They had a chance to win it. Beverly in that game had a pick 6 and a special teams touchdown. That's difference in the game right there. So if they look at that game last week, they're like, we lose this game. They get a touchdown on offense. I mean, touchdown on defense, and they get a special teams touchdown. So that's 14 points we gave them right there. But this Danvers team is really good. They're really good. I like the running back. I like Fultz. I like what they're doing. They've been in every game. They've put up over 20 points. And Masco too. This is a team that's coming in scoring a lot of points as well. This probably is going to be a high pace. Might be a lot. We might see a lot of points in this one. But I think in the end, Danvers is going to pull out the victory in this one.
If you read the preview on New England Football Journal, if you read it on the website, this week's preview, I mentioned in there that I think the Northeastern Conference is the most underrated league in the state this year. Some really good teams. We talk about Masconomet, Danvers, Marblehead, Beverly, and the Dunn, and then
Gloucester.
In the other half, you've got teams like Gloucester and Swampscott are always competitive. So
enough people are talking about Gloucester as a team to keep an eye on in D5.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. And so I think we're going to talk about a couple NEC matchups in a row here. And starting with this one again, I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in this one. Masconomet, they're 4-1. They've played really good in the 4 wins. They ran into a buzzsaw in Winchester and that other game. I don't think people fully appreciate how good that Winchester team is, though. That's a very good team in Division II. I think Masco is the better team. I think they have more skill, more experience, very senior-laden group. They've had a lot of multi-year starters, especially on that offense, especially at the skill player spots. Cal Weidman and Jack Fabiano at running back. Mukala mentioned Zach Fultz. He's a terrific player as well. Only a sophomore, already making waves at the varsity level. So this should be another fun, high-scoring NEC matchup. But I like the Chieftains here. I think Masco wins by 10 points, something like that.
Yeah, it should be a pretty good game. We're going to go back to the South Shore here now. We're going to go to the Patriot League. One of the better Patriot League matchups of the weekend. You have Duxbury at Hingham. Surprisingly enough, we talked about this earlier. The Dragons coming into this one at 2-2. And Tyler, I thought you made a pretty good point in the preview that this might be Hingham's best chance to beat Duxbury in a long time. It's been a long time since they've beaten them. This could be their best chance in years.
Yeah, well, I mean, like prior to Marshfield joining the conference and beating Duxbury on Thanksgiving last year, I think Hingham was the last team to beat them in conference play, and that was in 2007. So it's insane how many games Duxbury rattled off in conference, how many conference championships they won in a row. But this Hingham team is good, and Duxbury's not quite where they were the past few years, which is, it's no fault of theirs that they've graduated so many good players and have had kids poached by prep schools. So and
to your point, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Duxbury and Marshfield have been ravaged by the private schools raiding those rosters and taking kids, specifically linemen. Both of those programs have suffered a lot of losses to private schools in that area. So I think that's an interesting point that I do think kind of gets lost on people. And look, kids make decisions that they think are best for them, and their families make decisions that are best for their kids. But I do think, like I said, that does get lost on people, just how much talent has left those two programs the last couple of years.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we talk about like Hingham, and they have a very good quarterback, but Hudson Garrity is a Hingham native. So
Peter
they're
Bourne,
also getting
Hingham native. Think about that. If those two had stayed at home, they would have been set for 2 classes at that position.
True. That's true. No, I completely forgot about Peter Borg. I forgot he was from Hingham. That's crazy. But the Harbormen, they're good. They won a thriller against Hanover. It's incredibly difficult to pick against Duxbury against anyone, particularly teams in the Patriot League. I saw Duxbury firsthand last week. They're a good team. I think they have inexperience that they haven't had in years past. So they struggled a lot with that Londonderry passing attack. Hingham's another team that's able to throw the ball around. So I think they could struggle in this one again. I can't pick the upset here with Hingham. I think it's gonna be 28-21 Duxbury, but this is gonna be a great game. And if on Saturday afternoon when this one wraps up, you told me Hingham wins, I wouldn't be at all surprised.
I'm gonna go with Hingham just because at some point you gotta seize the advantage. You gotta take advantage of this opportunity. Duxbury, as you guys said, this isn't the ideal start for them, but they have inexperience on this. They have inexperience, so next year they will have more experience. So you better beat them now, because next year they'll probably be a lot better at this point in the season than they were this year. So I think Hingham's gonna take this one. I'm hesitant to say that, but I'm just because they got they're more experienced than Duxbury right now, so I'm gonna go with Hingham.
All right. And one thing I do want to point out, as I mentioned earlier, Tyler, you were at that game last Saturday, Londonderry at Duxbury. Hat tip to Jimmy Lozon and his staff at Londonderry to get on a bus, go all the way down to Duxbury. Duxbury isn't easy to get to from where we're at. Never mind going from Londonderry to Duxbury. To get your team to go all the way down there and to beat one of the premier programs in Massachusetts, one of the premier public school programs, that's a hell of a win for that Londonderry program. And let's be honest, it hasn't been easy for the Lancers the last couple of years. They had set such a high standard there for about a 3 or 4 year period. Last 2 years, they haven't been as good last year and this year. But to beat this Duxbury team, I don't care what the state of affairs is in Duxbury, that's a big win for this Londonderry program. Let's not forget, they beat Chelmsford last year as well. I covered their game in 2021 when they went down to Bishop Hendricken and lost in the 4th quarter. They went toe-to-toe with them. I think it says a lot about Coach Lozon, the staff, and the program that he's built at Londonderry to where he's confident enough that he can put his kids on a couple buses and bring them anywhere in New England and play with people. I can't say enough about that program. And, people forget that Division I in New Hampshire is very good because you've got Londonderry, Pinkerton, who won it all last year under the legendary Brian O'Reilly. You've got Bedford, which has been a wagon the last few years. You've got Bishop Girton, who for a period of time there was really good. Then you have some other programs as well. So Division I in New Hampshire, you're going to be battle tested by the time you get to the playoffs, but you also end up battle tested when you play good teams out of state. And kudos to Londonderry, kudos to Pinkerton. They've played Brockton through the years, played Andover last year, beat them. They play Andover again here in the next couple of weeks. I mean, I think it just says a lot about New Hampshire high school football now that these programs can come into Massachusetts and compete the way they have. So I had to say that because I really don't think that people realize how big a win that was last week for Londonderry. And I think a lot of people, Globe, Herald, they were there. Obviously, we were there. We know how good Londonderry has been in recent years. I don't think they did. And I think they were pleasantly surprised by how the Lancers did in that game. You are watching the High School Preview Show presented by Gold Athletics. I'm your host, John Sarianides. As always, I'm joined by Tyler and Mukala. And just want to remind you that if you are looking to fundraise and raise some money for your program, whether you're a fall coach, winter coach, or spring coach, visit goldathletics.com today for more information. Matt Ross and his team have a wide selection of fundraisers that they can cater to you, your program, and your community. Again, visit goldathletics.com today for more information. All right, gentlemen, the preview rolls along here. Next up, we go back to the North Shore. Do we call this North Shore? I mean, I know that North Shore folks have said to me that water has to either touch your community. You either have to be on the water or a neighboring community to a community on the water. I don't know. I don't know how North Shore people think. That's what I've been told. I'm a South Shore Metro West guy, so
it's North Shore. It's North Shore.
Well, I think this is a North Shore matchup. We've got Marblehead at Beverly. Mukala, I'm going to start with you. Beverly's been a pleasant surprise here at 4-1. The Magicians, we know that they're going to be in it every year. That's one of the more solid programs in the state, especially in that part of the state of Massachusetts.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this one?
Danny Pierce and that offense, he has them rolling. The connection he has with Will Floyd, Floyd White, excuse me. They're really rolling right now. But as a 4-1 start, they're putting up points. They're getting contributions everywhere. They're making special teams play. They're making defensive plays, and they're taking advantage of their home field. They've been winning at home too. This is a Beverly team. When we get around, they get in the postseason, it's going to be a team that won't be an easy out. They could put up points with the best of them. So I'm excited to see this one. And Marblehead too. That's another team. They could really go at it. You know, they've overcame all the stuff that happened from last year. You know, it was teacher strike, players being hurt, and everything.
Still a travesty. That still pisses me off a year later. I mean, again, it just goes to show you that they should be embarrassed that the kids were caught in the middle of that. But I digress.
Yeah, definitely. They somehow overcame that. They're having a good start to their season. They're playing really well on both sides of the ball. And this is going to be a classic Northeastern Conference game. It's going to be back and forth. It's going to come down to the last possession. So, but I'm gonna go with Beverly in this one just because they've been rolling at home. They've made a lot of explosive plays at home. So I think Beverly will take this one.
Yeah, this is a good one. I think Marblehead's sort of a team that's flying under the radar. They're another team that's in that Division 4 mix, one of the top 4 or 5 teams in Division 4, I would say. Quarterback Finn Gallup, he's playing well for his team. Very efficient passing attack they have. It should be a good one, but I just sort of feel like Marblehead's flying under the radar here. I think they get a signature win here on the road, 27-21, Saturday morning.
All right, next up.
Yeah, I was gonna go to that one too, but I might check that out before I head to Merrimack for a little bit.
You will. Who's kidding who? No, let's be honest here. You might check it out, dude. You are the most well-traveled man in Massachusetts high school football. No one loves to just go to games and promote the programs and the kids like you do. Amaral and I love this shit. We're into it. You, my friend, are at another level when it comes to giving the kids the attention they deserve. You are a real asset for high school sports in Massachusetts, specifically football. said that to you for years. That's why I wanted to bring you on board. I just think you see it, right? Like you're who's kidding who now? You're not going to be at the game tomorrow night?
Yeah.
Chances are you probably will. So, all right, next up.
Oh yeah. I'll be at the Greater Boston.
Nice. I love it.
English and Malden
I
tomorrow.
love
I'll be there.
Of course you will. That's what you do. All right, next up, we're going to go to the old dual county league. We got Bedford at Lincoln Sudbury. Should be a pretty good matchup. LS been kind of a bumpy road the last couple of years after Tom Lopez retired. They haven't been playing up to their standard, but all of a sudden they played a lot of young guys last year. Those young guys now are juniors and seniors. All of a sudden the Warriors are a factor in Division II. Of course, with realignment, they came back down to 2. Bedford, I mean, they scored 68 last week on Wayland. Impressive offensive team. Tyler, I'm going to start with you here. Thoughts on this one? The LS needs this kind of game because I think a lot of people are sleeping on LS. This is the kind of game they need to get people back into believing in this program, a program that for a long time, as I mentioned, under the legendary Tom Lopez, was a very good program.
Yeah, well, who's ranked number 1 in yesterday's power rankings for Division II? It's not CM, it's Lincoln Sudbury. So this is a team again. I think they're really not getting the attention that some of these other teams in Division II are getting. Of course, CM garners most of that attention. Bishop Fee probably comes next in line, but these teams, Winchester, Lincoln Sudbury, they deserve their respect. They deserve their flowers for what they've done so far this year.
I think a lot of people, and I'm glad you said that, Tyler. I think a lot of people. Unfortunately, Division II has become the CM Invitational, okay? And I think a lot of people look at Division II and say, well, if King Philip, who's had 2 25-game winning streaks in the last 8 years, if King Philip can't beat those guys, who can? And I really don't think it's fair to programs like Winchester, Bishop Fee, Wellesley's another one, Lincoln Sudbury, even before you had Marshfield, BR. It's really not fair to those kids in those programs because, and I'm not sitting here bitching and moaning. I'm just pointing out the obvious here, which is at the end of the day, we know that CM's the best team in that division on paper, but these are pretty good programs that deserve attention as well.
Definitely.
For sure. And Lincoln Sudbury, like you said, they've sort of been building towards this for a couple of years now, had some down years. And during those down years, they were the smallest school in Division I. Now they're one of the biggest schools in Division II, so that makes a big difference as well. They're going to be able to make some noise here. Mason Tarantino has really taken off at quarterback this year. Matt Tasker as well in the backfield. So the Warriors are for real. I think they could run the table and go 8-0 in the regular season and be a top 2 or 3 seed in Division II. They win this one here. Bedford's a team that had some lower scoring games this year, and then the 68-point outburst last week is kind of all over the place with their scores, but they're 2-2, but they're a good team. I think they're better than their record. They have a lot of talent on that team. It should be a fun game, and it's a good test for Lincoln Sudbury, but the Warriors win this one.
Yeah, this is also a big game for Bedford. They dropped some games early on, so they want to string along some wins as well. And as you said, 68 points last week. We had a couple wild scores last week. We had a basketball score between was it Greater Lawrence, whoever they played last week.
Greater Lawrence. Greater Lawrence put up 79 on Groton Dunstable. 79-57, I think the score was.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. I've been coaching football 30 years. I can't even imagine how you score that many points. Like literally, they had to have had flags on.
Yeah, I don't know how there are that many possessions in a game to score that many points.
Right, and the thing is, in order to score that many points, you got to score fast. I don't know.
Right, and also the way Greater Lawrence plays, it's run. So they must have just been breaking long runs each time they had the ball or something. But I think Bedford, this is a big one for them. I think they want to string together some wins, put themselves in a good position down the stretch of the season, so they could get they could get themselves a spot in the postseason, and who knows what happens there. So I think I'm gonna go with Bedford in this one, just because I think they want to string along some wins this stretch of the
All
season.
right, we're going to go a little rapid fire here. We got about 20 minutes left in the show. Next up, we have Abington at Norwell, key Division 6 matchup. Tyler, how do you see this game playing out?
Yeah, I'll be there Friday night. I'm looking forward to it. It's, for all intents and purposes, this is the conference championship game. But two teams with Division 6 title aspirations as well. So they could play each other again next month. Jack Lucarelli is the real deal. If you haven't seen him play, the kid is a terrific athlete, state champion basketball player, and he's going to probably run for 2,000 yards and pass for 1,000 this year for Norwell. Just an incredible athlete. I think Norwell wins this one. I'm expecting a lot of points, but Norwell wins.
Yeah, I think you're going to see another one of those games that comes down to the final possession or so. But I can't. I already went against them once. I can't go against them. My cousins are on the staff at
Mukala's
Abington.
cousins come into play.
I can't. Yeah, so I can't go against them. So I'm gonna go with Abington in this one.
Awesome. Yeah, it should be a great matchup. And again, two teams, to your point, Tyler, that are going to make noise in D6. D6 is really good. We talk about kind of flying under the radar. When we start to look at the divisions, D6 has some really good programs. These are two of them. They're two programs that will be a factor come November in terms of making a run. All right, next up, we're going to go to Randolph at Cohasset. Congratulations to Blue Devils coach John Marshall, who was named Patriots Coach of the Week this week. I've been fortunate enough to have that honor. I won it in 2011 after we beat Natick in week 2 of that season at Norwood. So it's a big deal, and it's a great honor, and it's awesome to meet Andre Tippett, Patriots legend, NFL Hall of Famer, Patriots Hall of Famer, the whole deal. It's good stuff. Randolph's a good football team. When you coming into this season, Mekhi White, Abe Cornett, they had a lot back. Alan Deriska, we knew that they were going to be really good. Tyler, I'm going to start with you on this one. Cohasset's been a program that in recent years has been in the mix every year. Peter Afanis, who does a great job down there. This should be a really good game between two teams that I think we really need to keep an eye on in terms of the lower divisions here in Massachusetts in D7 and D8.
Yeah, I saw Randolph last week. They completely controlled the game over Mashpee. They won 27-14. That game was 27-0 with 9 minutes left in the game. And Mekhi White only played for 14 minutes of game action and ran for 80 yards or something and a touchdown. So he's a terrific player. Coach Marshall told me after the game that was just precautionary. He took a shot to the shin, but he'll be ready to go. But Alan Nariska's emergence as the second back to complement Mekhi White this year, I think it's going to pay dividends, especially
Former
when you get
offensive lineman for them.
Right. Yeah, the offensive line is very impressive. Abe Cornett's a 3-year starter. Mekhi White's a terrific player. Nariska, he had a fumble recovery in that game against Mashpee. He kicks extra points. He's their punter. He had a touchdown on offense. He does it all. Fun player to watch. But listen, Cohasset's impressive. We always know about the skill. They have all the lacrosse athletes at the skill positions. Good quarterback play, Michael Wildfire. But I've heard they have more size than they've had in the past this year as well. And I think that could be a difference. Right now, to me, I think Cohasset looks like the top challenger to Uxbridge in Division 7. So we'll see how that plays out next month. This should be a fun one, though. I lean Cohasset by 7 to 10 points.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna lean with Randolph on this one. I think Mekhi White is gonna he's gonna put the team on his back. He's gonna carry them to victory. And the way Randolph plays, if you can't stop that run, if you can't stop that rushing attack, they're gonna bleed that clock. And when they get in the red zone, they get points. So I'm gonna go with Randolph.
Should be a really good matchup. Next up, we're gonna go to the Tri-Valley League. We've got an intriguing matchup here between two programs that have been up and down in recent years. Medfield has struggled, but all of a sudden now the Warriors are 4-0, taking on 3-1 Medway, in which should be a really compelling small side Tri-Valley matchup here between two programs that are having surprisingly good seasons. I've known Eric Ornberg for a long time, the head coach at Medfield. Terrific guy, terrific coach. He's got the Warriors playing well. It took him a long time to get the program back to this place. But Tyler, I'm going to start with you. This is a big game for both of these teams, and a game that I think when you look at it on paper has big-time implications in the Tri-Valley and when it comes to the playoff picture and seeding.
Yeah, this is gonna be a good one. Medfield has had their struggles recently, but listen, when you have a player like Brady McCormick, it changes a lot, and he's become one of the best backs in the state this year. We talked about Jack Lucarelli, a kid that's on pace to run for 2,000 yards. Brady McCormick, same thing. He's on pace for 2,000 yards, like 30 touchdowns for Medfield. Absolute bell cow. He can handle that workload. I think Medfield wins this one, but Medway's a good story too. I know they had high expectations. They got hot towards the end of last year. They moved down from Division 5 to Division 6, so they're going to be another player in Division 6. I think Medfield, though, wins this one by a touchdown. McCormick just makes too many plays.
Yeah, Brady McCormick is having one heck of a season. He's been, I think, rushing for 100 yards each of the games this season. He's been hard to bring down, and he's a catalyst to that offense. And I think Medfield is going to come out with the victory.
All right, next up we have Lowell at Chelmsford. Mukala, I'm going to start with you. Lowell is one of those teams, again, conversation always comes back to this. Who could be a sneaky good public school team outside of Springfield Central who's good? But who could be a sneaky good public school team that could potentially make a run come playoff time? Lowell is another program that could potentially be in that conversation. They take on a Chelmsford team that got off to a 1-3 start, but one thing that we do know with Coach Peterson and his squad is they're going to be well coached and they'll be ready to play. Mukala, thoughts on this one? How do you see this one playing out?
Lowell has some speed too. They have some speed in their backfield, and their offense has looked really good this season. You got Colin Christensen out there at receiver. He's making big plays. So I believe Lowell had a bye last week, so they're coming back refreshed. I think they should win this one. Chelmsford is struggling right now, and I think they're going to Lowell. I'm going to go with Lowell in this one.
Yeah, I mean, Lowell's impressed. They had that one close loss to Tewksbury, but they led in the fourth quarter, 21-18 in that one. Just fell short. Yeah. So I think this Lowell team, I think they're for real. I don't know quite, how far they'll go in Division I, but they certainly look like a Division I playoff team. They continue the momentum here in this one.
All right, next up we visit the Hockomock League for what used to be known as the Sidwell Bowl. We have Taunton visiting Franklin. The Tigers have been a pleasant surprise in the Hawks so far. Franklin, young, starting a young quarterback, young at a lot of the skill positions. They have some youth up front as well, but one thing we know about Todd Kiley, he's a heck of a coach. He and that staff have been together for a long time, and Franklin's going to keep getting better as the season goes on. Taunton's coming off a blowout win over Everett. Franklin is coming off a blowout win over Algonquin. Tyler, thoughts on this one? Who do you like and why?
Yeah, you mentioned Franklin's youth. They started off 0-2, but I think anyone that pays attention to Massachusetts high school football knew that Todd Kiley and that staff will get this thing turned around. They've won 2 consecutive games now. They're playing better. They look like they should round into form and be a Division I playoff team. With that said, though, this Taunton team's really good. They lost a close one to North Attleboro. Other than that, they've kind of been humming along, particularly on offense. I think Dylan Keenan's one of the more forgotten names when you talk about the quarterback landscape in the state. Tigers win this one.
Yeah, Taunton, I think they're going to win this one. Franklin, they got inexperience on this side. They're still growing. They're still learning. Taunton, big win over Everett last week. They had some big plays on the ground and in the air. Putting up, I believe, 40 points, over 40 points in that win. So I think I'm going with Taunton in this one.
Taunton is a good football team. They have King Philip next week, so that'll be a really good test for him as well. But Brad Sidwell hasn't had a lot of success against his former team, but this is one of those years where the Tigers should be better. Next up, we have Plymouth South at Quincy. Tyler, I'm going to start with you. Plymouth South coming off a big win last week over Situate, 20-15. Trap game here. I mean, Quincy is 4-0. Ed DeWitt's done a great job with that program. Look, I've always said with Quincy, North Quincy, if you can get the kids to come out, you can keep them. You start winning, you can win games at a place like Quincy. That's a big enough program. That's a D2 program. That's a big enough program that you can have success. This could be a trap game for the Panthers.
Yeah, I mean Quincy's impressed to this point. They got guys like Jonas Alla and Leo Steinberg. They've won 4 games. They've only given up 26 points on the season. This is by far going to be their most difficult test to date, though. Plymouth South, I think they still might be riding that high over beating Situate, pulling off one of the upsets of the year. This is a very good team, though. Another team. This is probably the most forgotten team in Division Three. Is Plymouth South. Um, that's a very good team. It's a good program. Coach Rossetti does a great job with that team. Tim DeRoche, very good quarterback. They're a good team, and I
It
think they're
just
going to win.
reinforces how much of a wagon D3 is. That they're in D3 as well.
Yeah, and they're ranked like what, third, I think, in yesterday's power rankings. They're like second or third, um, right after like KP and Barnstable or something. So they're a good team. I think Quincy will be able to keep this one close for a half. Plymouth South pulls away in the second half.
I think that win last week has got Plymouth South on a good momentum coming into this week. It might be a trap game, but I think they are gonna be focused just because beating Situate, they'll do a lot for your team's confidence going on the road to Quincy. It's gonna be an entertaining game, but in the end, I think Plymouth South will pull it.
Yeah, I mean, for Quincy, if they can get this one, now they're going to be in the conversation as a program to keep an eye on. And it's always tough going to play over there at Veterans Stadium in Quincy. I coached there for years when I coached semi-pro football. It's not the easiest place to play on a Friday night. They get good crowds there. All right, next up we go to Central Mass. We have Auburn at Uxbridge. Tyler Amaral, your thoughts on this pivotal Central Mass matchup?
Yeah, I mean Auburn, they lost by 20 week one to Hudson. Since then, that offense has been rolling. They had a very impressive win over Northbridge in their most recent outing. But I mean, how do you pick against Uxbridge at this point until somebody actually knocks them off? State's longest winning streak. Camden LaChapelle is a terrific player. Matt Blood's turned this into one of the best programs in the state, regardless of size of school or division. Spartans win this one, but I think Auburn can hang with them offensively.
Uxbridge, Uxbridge, that's it. Uxbridge's going to win this one. That's all I got.
Wow, you took a lot of time there to think about it, and then that's all you give us. I thought sure we were going to get some kind of a philosophical answer here. Next up, we have Fairhaven at West Bridgewater. Another good matchup here. Fairhaven, I know it was a Justin Marks show the last couple of years, but Coach Almeida has that program going again. It's a West Bridgewater team that's physical and can be tough to play against. Tyler, I'm going to start with you. Your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, West Bridgewater is good. This is the biggest threat to Fairhaven in the South Coast Conference Small. I said it a couple weeks ago, and I wasn't totally sure if it was accurate when I said that Fairhaven might be better offensively with Justin Marks because you can't just key on Justin Marks. They have all these different guys.
They can get multiple guys the ball now. Option off.
Right.
They do, and it's like 4 different guys now, and it's so tough to stop. And you don't see the triple option anywhere else. I can't remember seeing another one in person in the state. Does anyone else run that triple option?
If they do, it's not east of 495. I mean, it used to be a more prevalent offense than it is now.
Yeah,
Falmouth at one point when Derek was there, Falmouth ran it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. I don't know of anybody off the top of my head other than them right now that's running it.
So I mean, when you run it as crisp as Derek Almeida has his teams run it, it's brutal to stop. I mean, like nearly impossible to stop. You don't know where the ball's going, especially when you have that good fullback in that offense. It's just nightmare to try and defend. They're going to be too physical for West Bridgewater in this one. I think West Bridgewater is a good team. Coach Colbert is a very good coach. Ty Holmes is a terrific player. West Bridgewater is probably going to be in the mix in Division 7, but Fairhaven's another one of these teams right there with Norwell, Abington in Division 6. This Fairhaven team lost Justin Marks, but don't be surprised if they're back at Gillette for a 3rd straight season. This team's very good. Aaron Laguz kind of emerges as the top running back. But again, they have 3, 4, maybe 5 guys that they can give the ball to and beat you this year.
Yeah, you would think Fairhaven would have a drop off with losing Justin Marks, but nope, they just next man up. Somebody just step in, and they got a fully loaded team this year. They're playing really well on both sides of the ball, and West Bridgewater might keep it close for a little bit, but I think Fairhaven and then is just gonna wear them down and pull out the
All right, next up we have Neshoba Valley at Whittier. Mukala, I'm going to start with you. Neshoba Valley played CM a couple weeks ago. They played one of the toughest schedules in D8. Coach Kelly doing a great job there with that program. Going up against a Whittier team that's 3-1.
Yeah, and these two teams are mirror images of each other, as like stylistically, offensively, with the same philosophy, with that wing. They both love to run the ball. Going up to Whittier, it's a tough place to play over there. Great environment though. It is a great environment. Neshoba, I think they're gonna pull this one, but this is one of those games too. It's gonna be one of those things. The clock is gonna be moving fast just because the way both teams like to play. There's not gonna be a lot of passes being thrown in this game, so. It's a tough. This one's one of those toss-up games, but I think Neshoba is going to win this one. They've had a nice stretch of football as far as competition-wise. This the first month of the season, and I think they're ready for Whittier.
Yeah, I mean Whittier's playing well. They're 3-1. They lost to Salem close. They're probably the biggest test in the conference for Neshoba Valley, but Neshoba Valley, they're going to be battle tested. They played Stoneham close. They of course played Catholic Memorial as well, so they're going to be in the mix in Division 8. I think coming into the season, everyone thought West Boylston, Randolph, Neshoba Valley. Those three teams have done nothing to change anyone's mind. Zach DeShane's a terrific player, only a sophomore. Awesome running back. Vikings win this one.
All right.
All right, next up we go back to Central Massachusetts. We have Millbury at West Boylston. This is Mukala's boy, Dominic Renzoni, who plays for West Boylston. But Amaral, how do you think this matchup plays out? West Boylston is trying to end up winning a 4th straight Super Bowl. That would be rarefied air.
Yeah, I think they're in a good position to do it. They have a lot back. You mentioned Renzoni. He's the key of that offense. This double wing offense is tough to stop. They're an incredibly physical team, especially for Division 8. Give me the Lions here. They continue to roll.
Yeah, and also with West Boylston, their line too. They have a pretty decent sized line on both sides, and those guys they get after it in the trenches. So we've seen that in the road to 4 in a row. Give me West Boylston in this one.
They're going to be tough to beat. I mean, Mike Ross's teams, we know this. They're going to run the ball. They're physical. He stays patient. He doesn't get out of his game plan. Like I said, it's going to be hard for them, at the very least, not to get back there with what they have back on that team. We're going to stay in that part of the state. Next up, we have Northbridge at Tantasqua. It's a nice little quarterback matchup between Jack LaChapelle and Jack Nichols. Mukala, how do you see this one playing out?
Joe LaChapelle in Northbridge, they're having themselves quite the season. I know talking to them before the season, they're really focused on getting to Gillette. They were upset. They're still upset that they didn't get there last year, falling the game short. But they really were focused going into this season to get to Gillette Stadium. These seniors really want to end their high school career hoisting that trophy. And they're a tough team, so I'm going to go Northbridge in this one.
Yeah, Northbridge, they had that loss to Auburn that we brought up. But other than that, they've had some impressive wins. They can really score. I think the Rams win this one. Expect a lot of points.
Yeah, and of course, Joel LaChapelle is the grandson of the Northbridge head coach, the legendary Ken LaChapelle. Pete checks in. He says, I'm late to the party. Did I miss North Canton breakdown? You did, my friend. Unfortunately, you did. That was earlier in the show. I believe, Amaral, you picked North Attleboro, and Mukala, you picked Canton. Am I right?
That's right.
Yes, you are correct.
But Pete, we highly recommend you going back. The show is going to be up on our X account, Facebook, Twitch, our YouTube page. You can catch the show all week. So feel free to go back and replay it. Now you can see how we thought that one would play out. All right, next up we go to Western Mass, Lee at Hoosick Valley. Hoosick Valley. Who do you got here, Amaral?
I got Lee. I think Lee's sort of made this a big 4 in Division 8. I just talked about Randolph, West Boylston, and Neshoba Valley, but Lee is currently the number 1 ranked team in the division. They're playing well. They're just dominating Western Mass competition. Hoosick's probably their toughest challenger, toughest competition to date. but I like Lee. This Lee team is very impressive.
I agree. I'm gonna go with Lee as well, playing really well. Huzak Valley, yeah, but let's go with
Yeah.
Lee.
Yeah, Lee, Brian, I know Brian would be proud of them over at KP. Pete checks back in. Thanks, guys. No, Pete, thank you, man. We appreciate you watching and following along. But I'm glad you brought that up, though, Tyler, about this elite team. Again, I think sometimes with some of these divisions, especially as you get closer to the playoffs, it almost becomes a fait accompli that, all right, West Boylston or Randolph will be the two teams to beat. It's nice to see Western Mass programs like Lee in the mix, though. So, they should stay in the mix. All right, next up, we're going to go to the NEPSAC. We've got St. Seb's at St. Paul's. St. Seb's coming off a win. St. Paul's coming off a tough 29-7 loss to Milton Academy. This is a big one between a pair of 2-1 teams in the ISL. Both need this one if they want to stay in premium bowl contention. Mukala, I'm going to start with you. How do you see this one finishing up here? St. Seb's at St. Paul's. Who you got?
Yeah, it's Milton Academy is a tough team to play against. They got a lot of weapons.
Got a lot of skill.
Karan Mitchell. Yeah, they're really a hard offense to stop. So there's no shame in losing that one. St. Sam's though, they got some playmakers themselves. So they got some guys that can make some plays. A little on the fence in this one, but I'm gonna go with St. Seb's in this one. I think they're gonna pull out the one score victory.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be something like 24-21, something in that area, maybe 20-17. Should be a one possession game. Should be relatively low scoring. I think I like Sebs.
Yeah, and I think the thing is for St. Paul's, this Sebs team is physical, led by Michigan commit Marky Wabridge up front. It's a little bit of a different kind of game than you were in last week against Milton Academy. This St. Sebs team can spread you out and throw the ball. They've got the skill to do that, but they can also just line up and mash you. And I think that this could be a game where for St. Paul's, it's going to be, can they hold up front for 4 quarters? We'll see. All right, let's go around the region here. We're going to go to Connecticut. One of the top matchups this weekend in the Nutmeg State features Wilton at Staples. Staples coming off a very impressive win over Darien. Wilton, of course, is also undefeated. They've been impressive thus far. Should be a really good matchup. Could end up being a high-scoring matchup. Tyler, I'm going to start with you. Who do you got here and why?
I like Staples here. I think it's going to be a pretty good game for a half. I think Staples pulls away in the second half. Wilton's off to a great start. I just don't know if they're ready to beat these upper echelon teams, the top teams in Connecticut. I think there's a real case that Staples is the second best team after New Canaan at this point. So give me the Wreckers.
Let me see. I lost that. Okay. Staples. Give me Staples in this one.
Yeah, Staples, Nick Wheeler, quarterback. Coach Jockleff doing a great job there, of course. He was the offensive coordinator under Adam Barons. He's done a great job there taking over. He's a young coach and alum of the program. He's done a terrific job there. This will be a stiff test for them. Wilton is good, and they can score. But I think what we saw last week, I mean, Darien was mucking everybody in their schedule until last week. All of a sudden, that Staples offense kept humming. They kept playing at the level they played all year, but their defense emerged last week and played really well. And Amaral, I will say this. We have Greenwich on line 1. They'd like a word with you in terms of your after New Canaan comment, which, by the way, New Canaan and St. Joe's was an old school battle last week between two legendary coaches, two good programs. New Canaan survived 7-3. That was an old school Connecticut high school football game. That was awesome to see. All right, next up, we're going to go up to vacation land. We're going to go up to Maine. We have Bonnie Eagle at Portland. Portland trying to recover after a 36-0 loss to Thornton Academy last week. The Scots, looks like they might have their mojo back. Of course, for a long time, Bonnie Eagle is one of the dominant Class A programs in Maine. Should be a really good game here. Portland needs a bounce back. Can Coach Cliche get the Bulldogs back on track here after a tough loss to Thornton Academy, who reminded us last week that they're still the baddest dude on the block in Class A?
Yeah, so I think if Thornton Academy is the number one team, which I think they have the strongest resume in the state right now. Bonnie Eagles probably the second best resume in the state right now. I think the Scots win this one. It's tough for Portland. I think they're a good team. I think they'll be a challenger once they get to the playoffs here. But Thornton Academy and Bonnie Eagle back-to-back weeks is just tough for them. I like the Scots on the road here.
Yeah, that's definitely a tough slate, a tough 2 game stretch going against 2 teams of that caliber. Um, yeah, Portland is going to be another tough loss for them. So Bonnie Eagle is going to come out with this one.
All right, next up we have an interstate matchup and a really good interstate matchup. Cumberland, Rhode Island travels up to take on Salem, New Hampshire. Who do you guys like in this one? Mukala, I'm going to start with you.
These teams from Rhode Island have been going around the New England region, picking up some key victories or giving some of these teams, out of state teams, some good games, and I think that continues. I think Cumberland is going to go up there and get themselves a victory.
Yeah, I mean I think this is a pretty fun game here. I think both teams need wins. I mean, Cumberland's 2-2, but Salem's 2-3. Salem's going to be the more desperate team here. If they want to crack the playoffs, they're going to have to start stacking some wins here. I think this is really a toss up here. I'm going to lean Salem. I think they're just going to be playing with a level of desperation that Cumberland's not quite at. I like Salem. Tough road trip here as well. So give me the home team.
Cumberland, of course, picking up an impressive 14-13 win over Reading a couple of weeks ago. So, I mean, when you consider the fact that they had a late coaching change, they graduated a talented senior class, got thumped earlier in the year by Hendricken, to bounce back and beat Reading and now be in a position where you can avenge a loss to Salem last year when they played them down in Cumberland. Should be a pretty fun matchup. All right, in the final game we're going to look at for this week, we're going to go up to Vermont, where we have Burr and Burton. You talk about programs that are having a renaissance of sorts after a tough year. The Bulldogs are back. Burton heading over to Hartford to take on the Hurricanes. Hurricanes appear to be the best team in Vermont this season. This will be another good test for them. But just like we saw last week against Middlebury, this is a Hartford team that's battle-tested, that's well-coached. And like I said, they look like the creme de la creme in Vermont.
Yeah, I've got Hartford here. I think they're the best team in Vermont right now. I mean, they're just rolling most teams they come across. They're strong on both sides of the ball. Give me the Hurricanes here.
I second with Tyler. I'm going to go with the Hurricanes in this one. Best team in the state of Vermont. So I'll roll with that.
It is surprising. I mean, Rutland got off to such a good start, and we knew it was going to be wide open this year in Vermont, especially because CVU was down, Ron Fleming retired, Orion Yates leaves the program. So they lost a lot too, and that was a senior-heavy team. They were going to be young anyway. But Hartford's been a program through the years that has been consistent. They've been able to stay in the mix as one of the best programs in the state, and you're seeing it. And, of course, the Vermont playoffs are going to kick off here in a couple of weeks. So you want to talk about how fast this season is going by. There you go. There's proof of that as well. All right, gents, before we wrap it up here, and I need to move along to do the college preview show with my guy, Ryan Barry. What do you got here for some final thoughts here for week 6, week 5 in Connecticut, week 6 for the rest of the region? Nothing?
Yeah, I mean, I think the matchups are just like more spread out at this year with every team having a bye week and the 9-week regular season. So I think it kind of hurts us in a way when we get to this point where there aren't so many key matchups like for each week. They're just more spread out by 1 week. So it's not as strong of a slate as we've seen in the past, but it's still very good, particularly at the lower levels. I think like divisions 5 through 8, the lower half, there's some really good games. So get out there, whether it's your town or not, get out there and enjoy some good football. There's great football to be played across all 6 states at all at every level, every division in the states. So just get out there and enjoy some football.
Yeah, and in the North Shore, there's a couple games this week. This week that's pretty interesting to fans. We talked about two between Beverly and Marblehead and Masco and Danvers, but another one to keep our eye on is Gloucester going to Swampscott this Friday. I will be at that one. That should be a very interesting game. Gloucester's trying to remain undefeated. They've been playing really well on the season, and also another game for fans that want to go catch a good one should be Middlesex at Brooks. That one should be a good one in the ISL. So a lot of good games all around, and these are some that we didn't talk about. That you can go check the schedules and the game times, but those are some of the ones. That Middlesex and Brooks one, that should be a very good one for folks if they want to catch up some other ISL.
Yeah, and the
action.
weather's getting colder now. I think the other day was kind of summer's last stand, if you will. We're into the fall now. I mean, I think Friday morning they're talking about temps in the upper 20s and low 30s, which makes me sick to my stomach. I hate the cold, but nonetheless,
the best time
football
of the year.
weather is here. Unfortunately, we got to deal with crappy weather. We all know it only goes downhill from here. The fall is the precursor to the winter, which is the worst time of the year. So it is what it is.
Well, the fall's great though. Give me like 40s and 50s. Sunday I went apple picking. It was 85 degrees. I'm pouring sweat.
I loved it.
This is awful.
I loved it, man. This is. Look. We all have our own tastes, but for me, I'm a warm weather guy. Anything under 75, I'm good. I don't want it. I want 75 to 95. Give me that range. I'm a happy man. I can't. I hate the cold. I'm Greek, man. Our blood.
Give me whatever we had. We have whatever we had Friday, Saturday.
I don't know. We'll see. Gentlemen, great job as always.
Friday, Saturday, and even Sunday. Give me that.
Great job as always. And I know, we started the show off. I had a couple of technical difficulties here with the iRig. And then, of course, I was wrapping up my draft, but we finished strong, and that's all that matters. That will do it for this week's episode of the High School Football Preview Show. For Tyler Amaral and Mukala Kabongo, I'm John Sarianides. We will be back with you next week. Until then, listen to these two smart gentlemen. Get out there and enjoy the games. There's going to be a lot of good ones this weekend. As always, stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe. Peace.